Hello to everyone. Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I'm coming on to bring a message specifically for the divine feminine. You all have to excuse my voice because I'm finding that I have a little cold coming on, and I'm trying to avoid catching this cold as much as possible. So I'm fighting it with black seed oil and fresh ginger, things of that nature. But hopefully, you all can hear me pretty well. Um, First, I want to say thank you all to everyone who reaches out for private readings or who orders my hair and body oils. If you want to check out any of those products or book a reading, be sure to email me. I'll leave that in the description box. Okay, so let's move forward. What brought me to bringing this message is that I had a dream last night, and in this dream, I ended up going to go visit with a friend that I had not seen in a long time, somewhat of an associate, really. But in the past, I used to know her mother. Um, and I ended up visiting with her, and it was so beautiful because I was in her backyard. And I remember telling her, like, wow, this is just the most beautiful view because we was outside. It was a whole bunch of land and it was green and it was flowers. It was so pretty. And I remember her just kind of saying, it's all right. And I was like, well, you've been here all your life. So I feel like you've kind of lost an appreciation for the beauty of it. I said, but I still have that appreciation. I can't get tired of this. I would never get tired of this. And so then I asked her about her mother, to see how her mom was doing. And we ended up walking to another area. We ended up in like a store. I don't know where we was at, but her mother was there, and it was a bunch of other melanated women who was also there with her. And I remember going up to her mother and saying, I was just asking about you. I just wanted to know how you was doing. Oh, she told me that her mom had gotten married when I asked her how her mother was doing. And I remember thinking when she told me that, like, wow, that's good for her because she was in a really bad marriage. It was emotionally, physically, financially abusive to her, and verbally as well. And so when I saw her mother, the first thing that I said to her was, hi, I was just asking about you and congratulations on your marriage. And so she started telling me something. I don't remember exactly what she said because she said a lot, but I remember she went into saying, you know, um, she said, I know my value now. And she said, I'm a queen. And so all of the women who were standing there with her, they busted out into this a cappella. If my voice wasn't going away, I would sing it. But they said it was like different octaves, and all of them, each one stood there and they said, Queen, 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 Queen. And so they went up in octaves, okay? And I was just like, wow, I ended up busting out crying, like I mean, it was strong tears to the point where, I ended up hugging her. We consoled one another, and I ended up waking up, but I know I was highly emotional because you know how you cry real hard in your dream and you wake up and you could feel like you was crying. And it was that type of energy. And so I thought about the dream. I figured this dream must be a direct message towards the divine feminine, especially if you find yourself either leaving a very toxic relationship or straddling the fence in terms of moving into a new direction away from these toxic karmic relationships. And so I feel like in the dream, it was multiple messages there, like the part in terms of being out in nature, and being at this friend's home, and me being able to relish in the beauty of it, but her losing that sense of passion for it just kind of says that for a time the divine feminine, um, life became a very dull bore. Okay, it was this energy of dissatisfaction, discontentment, boredom, unhappiness, the passion, that flame within the divine feminine, that spark had left. In spite of all of the beautiful things, it was very difficult for the divine feminine to find satisfaction in life, okay? And for her to say, it's okay, but for me to go in and find like, okay, this is perfect, it just showed like the me being in a more awakened state and her being in a more asleep state. It just showed how the energies, it was two completely different energies, okay? And then in terms of her mother, going from a very karmic relationship to being able to happily express how she's moved on into a more healthy relationship and valuing herself as a queen and having all of these other women to back her, um, and to also bring in their own energetics, frequency with the music. I saw the singing as being the shifting energy that's happening for the divine feminine, because music is like, it's a universal language, but it's also energy, it's frequencies. And so each one of them brought their own octave, their own pitch to it, their own energy to backing that particular woman, the divine feminine energy, in leveling up and finding her own value, and self love. And so I feel like the emotional aspect of it was that breakthrough, that energy of, we no longer have to stay chained and bound in these karmic cycles because we have fear. We're living in lack mentality. We are codependent on the wrong types of energies, or we have people who are codependent on us. We're overly nurturing to narcissists and all of these types of things. It feels like there is a breakthrough that's happening for the divine feminine that is bringing about emotions. It's a great transformation that's happening, and a lot of the divine feminine is stepping outside of their comfort zone. And I feel like that comfort zone had a large, um, what played a large factor in it was the divine feminine seated in her south node energy. If you ever looked at your natal chart, then you know you have a north and a south node, and the south node is generally associated with past life energy, maybe some karmic cycles that you might have brought into this lifetime. And so I find that those who have not really risen into their divinity are more than likely seated in their south node past life karmic cycles, energy. And so it just showed in the dream how the shift is taking place. And we all are beginning to support one another in our decisions to release the past and to step outside of our comfort zone and to allow these transformations to take place in our lives, operating from a space of self-love and establishing healthy boundaries that says, you know, I complete myself. I myself alone as an individual, I am complete. And so when we were seated in that south node energy, we attracted a lot of karmic partners who came in to bring some very harsh but necessary lessons. And it was this energy of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So many of the divine feminine stayed in relationships for years and years and years with people who were very toxic, very unhealthy, people who lacked self-love, who lacked empathy, compassion, integrity, honor, um, loyalty. And so this was very draining and depleting to the divine feminine energy, and it really kept us from being the healers, the spiritualists, the nurturers, the teachers that we are, the creators that we are naturally. Like, we were still creating, but we was helping to aid in creating a energy that was in opposition to where we need to go as a collective body, both divine masculine and feminine. But the feminine was off balance. And so in this message, I'm strictly focusing in on the divine feminine. And so basically, because the dream told me to, right? My time traveling, as in my dream state, it made it very clear to me that this message is for the divine feminine. And so establishing those healthy boundaries in spite of opposition, because it feels like the divine feminine, for those of you who are preparing to walk away from karmic situation, or who have already left karmic situations, you might find that there's a strong resistance that's happening from your exes, or those people who you once had a karmic relationship with, whether you still share children with them and you have to interact with them, or if for whatever reason they're still lingering in your life. You might find that there's strong resistance that is coming from those particular individuals. And so there's a strong energy of standing your ground, and knowing that you are protected, knowing that this transformation requires for you to establish those healthy boundaries, because you establishing those healthy boundaries indicates that not only are you operating from self-love, nurturing yourself, healing yourself, which is your feminine energy, but you're also establishing those healthy boundaries, and not allowing others to come in. You're protecting yourself, which is stepping into your masculine energy. And so that's a strong indicator that the divine feminine is coming into union with with ourselves in terms of that masculine and feminine energy, because You got to come into union with yourself before you can come into union with your divine partner. And so this is a strong transformation that's happening with the divine feminine. Of course, we're all at different stages of our evolutionary process and our awakening state, but I do feel that there's a strong shift that is taking place in that regard, to where it's a no nonsense approach, or even if you are far removed from relationships, karmic relationships, and you're just kind of like on the scene of dating, it could also indicate that you're having to establish those healthy boundaries even with those who come in and test you, because it's that energy of your commitment being tested to the process of change. How committed are you to this transformation? How committed are you to ensuring that no one can come in and penetrate those healthy boundaries and that self-love that you are now projecting out into the universe? No one can come in and bring a negative energy to that, or to taint it with their unbalanced energy. And so it's like this it feels like it's this thing where you might have people who are approaching you. You might have multiple suitors who are approaching you, but right off the rip, see, you and your feminine energy, because you've healed, your intuition is very sharp. And so you're able to read energy. You're able to pick up on a person's aura. You're able to feel, based on using that empathy and that just that energy of being able to tap in spiritually, seeing through your spiritual eyes. You're able to see, is this person, can this go the distance? Even if it seems like on the surface with your natural eyes, they're coming in with, checking off all of the boxes, you're now establishing healthy boundaries to the point where you're saying, if the spiritual aspect of this relationship is lacking, then it is not for me. So it's that energy of, okay, even if you've been waiting for some time and you feel like, okay, but gosh, when am I going to actually come into union with this person? I got all these different possibilities or potentials, and some of them seem like they check off the they seem like they're up to par in terms of what I desire, but they just lack the spiritual component. Then that's a major factor that's being that's not being, presented. You need that. You need to have someone in your life who is also spiritually balanced, because that is what makes for a long-term relationship. You need someone that operates from a space of integrity, honor, self-love, someone who knows themselves. Know thyself. That's very important. Someone who believes in self-preservation, someone who has tackled their own carnal nature and who understands the importance of, balancing out their own spirituality and having that divine connection to the Most High and their spiritual team. The divine feminine is required of us to ensure that we go the distance and stay committed to the process. And so for some, it can become frustrating after a certain period of time. It's like, well, where are these men at? But the main part is, when you come into union with yourself, what you end up doing is redirecting your focus towards creativity. And so in that energy, when you're in your mode of creativity and really doing what you was placed here to do, and you're manifesting and you're the co-creator of your life, in that energy, you feel whole already. And so there's really no void space that needs to be filled, where it's like you're almost willing to allow just anybody into your life for the sake of not saying that, for the sake of not feeling lonely, because loneliness is no longer a factor when you're in your creative energy. You end up having so many different ways to um, find the beauty in life, and to find passion and zeal and excitement. And you know um, it's just you stay busy doing all of those things that you love and nurturing yourself to the point where you don't feel like there is a void. And so in that energy, that's when you ultimately will end up attracting the right type of person, because you're putting the message out into the universe that says, I do not accept anything that is in opposition to what my and to what self-love means to me. And so you reject it. Automatically, it gets rejected. It doesn't even have the opportunity to penetrate into your auric field. And so, because it doesn't, the message becomes very clear after a certain number of tests come through. It's like, okay, this divine feminine really gets it. This divine feminine has stepped into her power. She knows who she is, and she understands that time is an illusion, and that it's not a factor where, okay, I'm going to neglect um, my purpose because of bitterness, or fear that love will never come. because love is always present when you are operating from a space of self-love. So I do want to pull a couple of cards. I know I just did a lot of talking, but hopefully this message is it resonates with you all. I just want to see what's coming out here. So we have here, yeah, accelerated motion and fulfillment. So it is the strong energy of things will be moving ahead, okay? Even if it feels like it's slow right now, if you feel like love is postponed, this is the Eight of Wands, which means accelerated motion. Things are going to pick up, okay? Things are going to move forward. You're receiving those divine messages. Some of you are out, you might be stargazing, you might be, sending how they say wish upon a star, sending your prayers up into the universe, where it's like, okay, I'm desiring for this love to come through, and I'm anticipating that it will come through, because I know the energy that I'm operating from. So it's like this energy of, it's like blind faith, where it's like, okay, you may not see it coming towards you, but you can feel that your divine masculine is being prepared for you. So fulfillment is here. Something is growing, you see. So you've been growing as the divine feminine. So as a result, so is your divine masculine. At the bottom of the deck, we have transformation. And so this is the main thing that we've been, that's been coming forward, is like that death and that rebirth energy, and this is, she's dressed in green, and so that's a strong indicator of the heart chakra, which indicates, that self-love. Having a open heart chakra is how you attract and magnetize what you desire to you. And with the number 4, it feels like it's a solid foundation, something that's stable, something that's immovable here with this specific transformation that the divine feminine is going through. And so because you've done the work and because you are going the distance, and you have push past any fears of the unknown, stepping outside of your comfort zone to do those things that are divinely, that you're called to do, then this transformation is going to bring you what you desire. Now, this card that just came out is the temptation card. This is what I was just saying. There's a temptation. You'll have temptations that come through. This is the devil card as well. These temptations come through to tempt you to fill a void space. But see, the divine feminine, when you are stepping into that empress energy and you are healing yourself with this green here, you're nurturing yourself, to make sure that all void spaces are filled, that you fill it. You fill up your own cup first to the point where it's overflowing. And what others receive from you is the access of your, of that overflowing cup. They receive the access, so they cannot deplete you, because you've tapped in to the point where you know how to balance your energy. You know how to alchemize and transmute. You know how to target any deficits or anything that's standing in the way of you becoming the best version of yourself. You know how to look at it, assess it, target it, heal it, those wounds, so that these temptations, they don't phase you anymore. Because the devil energy can be it can be alluring. It's that type of energy where, okay, it's sexual, it's magnetic, it's fiery, but it's one of those things that kind of sucks you in, and then it traps you in that energy, to where it's like, okay, now you feel like you have to work your way back out of it. That's that karmic type of energy. That's attracting those karmic partnerships. And so that temptation is there. But I do see the divine feminine standing their ground and moving ahead. Like I said, we're supporting one another energetically, because we are healing one by one. And those women who, did that a cappella, saying queen, and each one had their own octave. Each one had their own frequency and their own energetic signature that they added to it. It just shows me that we're rising higher, because the octaves went up, as each one said queen. And so it's like this energy of, we're rising higher, and we're not going backwards anymore. We're not descending, backwards. We're going to continue to ascend to our north, coming out of our south, stepping out of our comfort zone, which a lot of times that comfort zone deals with, okay, you stay in a karmic situation, because again, it is financially, it brings a certain amount of security. You don't have to face certain fears of independence. If you've never been independent and you just kind of went from home into relationships where you was living with someone, then sometimes that can create a fear of independence or lack mentality. And so I definitely feel this energy of the divine feminine is no longer allowing that temptation or those fears to overcome. It's like, I'm going to push through these and I'm going to go through this transformation. I'm going to allow whatever endings need to happen to take place. That way, I'm able to move forward. And this says take inspired action. And so, yes, the divine feminine is ready to take inspired action. This is, you feel that inspiration, that excitement, that passion for life, and that energy of, I'm free now. And this actually looks very similar to the land that I was on in my dream. Okay, it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And so it's like this energy of, I'm connected to Mother Earth. I've come back to my nature, coming back into your authenticity. And so it's like you're rooted again. The divine feminine is getting rooted again. And so we're recognizing that it's a big world out here. It's infinite possibilities out here, and we're no longer um shortchanging the possibilities in terms of when love might come and who might come towards us. We are very optimistic, is what I'm saying, about the future. And we recognize that there are infinite possibilities in terms of how this can play out. And so it's that energy of, no, I would not be tempted to stay in an unhealthy situation because I'm limiting my potential, assuming that love can only come in that direction, when in fact it wasn't love at all. It was really just, it was based on, a lot of these karmic partnerships were based on lust. They were based on, materialism, ego, pride. Some people stay in relationships because they're just too prideful. They don't want to leave it because it's like, okay, if I leave, then you have won. Or if I leave, then, my sister that said it would never work, now she gets the last laugh. Some people stay in relationships because of pride, and that's sad, because you miss out on so many beautiful things that could be happening in life just off the strength that you're concerned about what somebody else might think, or you're trying to prove a point. The point that you ultimately end up proving, though, is that you lack self-love. And so I feel like the divine feminine are coming out of that energy. So this heart chakra is here, which indicates the heart chakra is opening. And like I said, it's in alignment with the transformation card, which she's wearing green. And so it's like, okay, that self-love. The number 4 is standing out a lot too. So if you are seeing the number 4, then that's because there's a new foundation that's being created from within. As within, so without. And also the number 4 in the tarot deck is the Emperor card, which would be the divine partner to the Empress. And so the divine feminine will sit in that Empress energy, where she embodies all of the energies of the queens within the tarot deck. And so I feel like this is you coming into union with yourself, your own masculine energy, and therefore as a result you are attracting your masculine to you. So number 4 is standing out here. So let's see. Yeah, third eye chakra. See, this is showing me, and see, this is what's peeking out here, y'all. I got to show y'all what's happening here. So I'm going to tell y'all, I have the third eye chakra. What's peeking out here is the harmony card, okay, which deals with love. And then right behind that, I have this happiness card that's peeking out. So we're going to talk about these. So the third eye chakra obviously deals with you seeing things from a spiritual perspective at this point. You're not looking through your natural eyes anymore. And so because of this, you're attracting people to you who also have an open heart chakra, who have done the work to heal, because you yourself have already done this. His heart is illuminated green. He's projecting the energy of love, and she's already transformed, went through that death and that rebirth, gone through that cocoon, turning into the butterfly. And so it's that energy of, okay, so the divine feminine is now attracting the divine masculine, because she's projecting that energy of love out into the universe, and the divine masculine is picking up on that energy. And so his heart is beginning to open. So then you have here these 2 dolphins that are just kind of splashing in this, it looks very happy. So this card says happiness. The sun is shining on the divine masculine and feminine. And it's mainly because each one, as on an individual level, have found happiness within themselves. And so when they come together, it's just this explosive energy of light and of love. And so this is very important. The number 6 is also standing out. So the number 4 and the number 6 are 2 numbers that are standing out. 6 dealing with harmony, finding that balance and that harmony in life. And so let me see. I'll pull one more from here, and then I want to look into a little bit of past life energy to see if there's anything from the south that's still lingering for the divine feminine that might need to be cleared out before you attract your masculine if you have not already. So you have here a time to give rather than take. Okay, more green energy, heart chakra frequency energy. A time to give rather than take. I feel like this giving is the giving of love to yourself as the divine feminine, nurturing yourself. She has a wreath on her head. Um, and it's all of this, heart chakra energy and Virgo energy. This says new moon in Virgo, which indicates, self-love, deep reflecting, going within, um, checking yourself to make sure that you're balanced, and that you're in alignment with, the highest version of yourself. And so a time to give rather than take. So rather than anticipating that someone else is going to come in and fill that void space, you're giving it to yourself. You're giving that love to yourself. So that, again, that's allowing you to keep on, you fill up your cup more and more. A lot of times when you end up depleted in relationships is largely because those void spaces, to me, is like holes in a cup. And so it's like you fill your cup up and you're doing your best to operate from self-love, but it's constantly being drained and it's pouring out each side of, whatever holes is there, those void spaces, those wounds that still exist. And then others come in and they just deplete whatever it is you put into that cup. And so it never gets filled up enough to where it actually overflows. But now the divine feminine is giving to herself, which is actually patching up those holes, patching up those void spaces and replacing it with that energy of self-love and self-care and, compassion for self, empathy for self. And so because you're now honoring yourself, then of course you're not going to allow someone to come in that is not bringing that same energy. And so it's like, okay, this is your time of giving to yourself. Then you have believe in the impossible. This is in alignment with what I was saying earlier in terms of the infinite possibilities that exist out here and not limiting the possibilities in terms of where love might come from, when it might come, and who it might come from. So then you also have intuition. So the divine feminine is definitely tapped in. It's a strong energy of having that divine connection to your most high and your to the most high and your spiritual team. And again, she's wearing an ankh here. So it just represents life. It represents, man and woman, the union. I feel like that's that union of coming into union with self once again. So number 2 here being balanced. It's the scales are getting ready to balance out for the divine feminine. And I feel like, again, that's why I was very emotional in that dream, because we were able to relate as women in terms of, okay, we've gone through all of these changes, but now we've had that transformation. We've now put to rest all of that energy that was painful to us. And so it was like an outpouring of tears, but the tears were tears of happiness and celebration. So I feel like we are moving into a space of celebrating one another for not allowing ourselves to be tied down or bogged down in the energy of fear and discontentment in relationships that did not serve our highest good, because we have a divine assignment as a collective body for the divine feminine to, again, to heal, to nurture, to bring compassion, empathy, and to have that, creativity, bringing our creativity into the mix as well. And so I'm going to look into some past life energy. Let me grab my book here. Okay, so the past life energy, I'm going to use this book, Sun Signs and Past Lives, okay? And I'm just going to channel the energy. Y'all know how I like to do for those of you who have watched my channel. I'm going to channel the energy and see what is some past life energy that Divine Feminine needs to release in order to really rise into your north and to become the best version of yourself, okay? Okay, so we have here strong energy in Taurus and Virgo, but it doesn't mean that you're a Taurus or a Virgo. You might have it in your chart. But either way, okay, so let me start off by reading. It says, I can't. So let's see. Hold on, let me start here. The past life issues for you were associated with 3 areas. 1 was too much negative thinking. You fought against positive thoughts. A 2nd was settling for less. Hello. And you gave a little too easily on your own needs. Okay, so you gave in a little too easily on your own needs. So never really nurturing yourself. A third was limited long range vision. Okay. So let's see. This says I can't, which are two, those two words are, you want to limit that in your vocabulary, if not completely eliminate it altogether. So you have here, you needed to be telling yourself, yes, I can, but you weren't. You talked yourself out of trying a new plan before you even got started. Negative self-talk made for missed opportunities. So I feel like this I can't dealt with how we stayed in karmic relationships in the past, that, we felt like we didn't have a way out. We felt like we didn't have the financial resources. We didn't have the support. We didn't have the ability to remove ourselves or to pull ourselves away emotionally from these connections. And so we talked ourselves out as the divine feminine in the past from leaving these connections here, and as a result, missing new opportunities. So it says you had great ideas but lacked momentum to get them going. So that's that passion, that fiery energy, a blockage to the sacral chakra, which was likely caused from having a sexual connection to someone who was still operating in low vibrational energy. And so you're creating these soul ties, and they're projecting this energy off onto you. And then you yourself might have also been operating in karmic energy as well, which that energy was intertwining and creating something, but it was creating everything in opposition to what you wanted. And so when the sacral chakra is blocked, so is your creativity. And so you might find that you had creative ideas. You might have started on things, but you might have self-sabotaged them before they could even get off the ground or to blossom into fruition. Um, so sometimes this was due to the wrong types of people influencing you, wrong types of relationships, right? Negatively addicted acquaintances sabotaged your plans. Negatively addicted acquaintances sabotaged your plans. So some people had addictive behavior patterns. That's those codependent behavior patterns that the divine feminine was drawn to, or that was attracting. The divine feminine was attracting people to her that had different addictions. Everybody's addictions look different. Some people are workaholics, some people overeat, some people are porn addicts, sex addicts, alcoholics, substance abuse, narcissism, where they're just addicted to having their ego stroked. I mean, there's so many different types of addictions that people can carry. Codependency on others emotionally, financially. So either way, so these types of people often self-sabotage the plans of the divine feminine. You were too easily talked out of your aspirations. Low self-worth contribute to this pattern and was the source of the problem in many instances. And so, of course, yes, you have to be operating from a space of lack of self-love, low self-worth, in order to maintain and stay in a relationship that you are very clear does not serve your highest good. So then it says you had the ambition, but not the willpower and strength of ego needed to sustain your aspirations. So for me, I feel like that strongly deals with the masculine energy, that ambition, taking action, that willpower, that strength, that ego, which of course we all embody, both masculine and feminine. So then we have here dead end goals. There were incarnations that found you in very confining jobs and relationships. So many of the divine feminine was working jobs that we couldn't stand. I, for one, can relate to all of the things that's coming out thus far. You allowed yourself to stay in these situations far too long. You took the service theme of Virgo in the wrong direction, dedicating yourself to people and work that didn't deserve your devotion. This kept you from being happy. Your creative power got stuffed into circumstances far beneath your potential. So the divine feminine was not rising into our potential, staying stuck in the South Node energy, staying stuck on a karmic hamster wheel, staying stuck in jobs that that suppressed your creativity, staying in relationships that suppressed your creativity because you might have had people who had their own insecurities that really did not want to see you thrive, because you thriving would mean that it would be a indicator that you was operating from self-love at that point, and self-love would make you take a second look at these karmic relationships, and as a result, ultimately you would end up walking away. And so the karmic partners in the past came in with that energy of jealousy and trying to control you or suppress your creativity, and so did many of these karmic career paths and jobs. So you didn't allow your perceptions to guide you out of these dilemmas. Instead, you let self doubt be in control. You actually possess sharp insights, but your assertiveness was operating at too low a level to motivate you out of these situations. So, the divine feminine assertiveness, that to me, it sounds like also a masculine energy. So I feel like the divine feminine was leaning way too far into the feminine energy, where it became more of a codependent energy, more of um an energy where you was nurturing others so much that you neglected nurturing yourself. So you became that mothering figure that, operated from that space of unconditional love. But to me, unconditional love, in order when you ask me about unconditional love, I feel that without conditions, it leads to settling, right? If you lack having conditions or standards, it leads to settling. The only time I would say unconditional love is actually valuable is when you've attracted to you a partner who believes in honor and integrity. That's just how they operate, whether they're in a relationship or not. That's how they built. Okay. That's their blueprint. That's their foundation. They have that divine connection to the most high. They're balanced spiritually and physically. And so they just naturally operate from integrity. And so unconditional love can mean, okay, you can project that type of energy or share that type of energy with someone who values who they are and who values how they're perceived, spiritually and in other areas of their life. And so, but with someone who is, when you're attracting karmics, then yeah, there should be conditions, because without conditions, you will settle. And then it's like, well, you said you love me unconditionally, even though I'm cheating on you, even though I have these addictions to various things that's in my carnal nature, even though I'm stealing from you or abusing you financially, emotionally, verbally. Oh, yeah, but it's unconditional love. And so a lot of the, conditioning of society had many of the women, the divine feminine specifically, in this mindset in our sleep state that unconditional love meant you accept someone with every one of their flaws, even if it means that it hurts you and brings you down to the lowest of the low. And now that we've awakened and we've gone through these major transformations in our spiritual awakening, we now see through our spiritual eyes that that was far from the truth, and that kept us very much so submerged and trapped up in the web of the matrix. And so let's see what else we have. I'll read one more paragraph. When you were afraid to think outside of the box, life became so routine that it dulled your perceptions. So remember, initially in my dream, it was shown to me that friend of mine, she was very bored and discontent with the beauty of where she was at. She lost that zeal and that passion. Her sacral chakra was very much so functioning. It was underactive sacral chakra, and so that zeal and that passion was not there. And so you were afraid to think out of the box, and life became so routine that it dulled your perceptions. And so um, there were times you were afraid to think ahead. You were too attached to stability. So stability, security, was very important to the divine feminine, so much so that many stayed in very toxic and unhealthy relationships, all off the strength that if I walk away from this, then I may end up with nothing. I may end up homeless. I may end up having to struggle. And so as a result of that, the divine feminine allowed the external environment and this false illusionary belief system that she had created and that society had created for her to convince her into saying, I have to stay in these unhealthy relationships because otherwise security, I will not have it. Okay. And so that's also security to me. It also is a masculine energy. And so it deals with you coming into union with your own masculine energy and saying, I possess, in your feminine energy, I am creative. There's infinite possibilities on the things that I can create and create abundance with. And so as a result of that, I create security for myself. I take powerful action. I take courageous action towards building that foundation using my creative abilities as a co-creator. You merge the two together with the masculine and feminine. There you have a queen, a goddess who is now balanced in her energy. And so short-sighted thinking prevented the divine feminine from seeing the bigger picture and expanding our possibilities, which you did have the card of believe in the impossible, right? So with this card of believe in the impossible and take inspired action, it just shows you, um I can't even find a card, y'all, but I could have sworn that card came out. But if it didn't, then I'm seeing it in my mind's eye. Take inspired action is here. So this taking inspired action is saying, okay, I feel inspired now because I'm in my creativity and I'm no longer allowing someone to take my sexual energy, which is largely dealing with your creative energy. I'm no longer allowing a karmic or a low vibrational spirit to come in and take my sexual energy and to deplete me of all of my creativity. No, I'm going to withhold my sexual energy and I'm going to direct that energy towards something that, to give birth to my gift, to give birth to my purpose. I'm going to take inspired action and create and lay the foundation that's immovable. And so now the divine feminine has found, I feel like we're finding ourselves again as a collective body. And so, coming out of that energy of I can't to I can, coming out of that energy of I am not to I am. We're shifting the way that we think, we're shifting the way that we speak and communicate, and we're definitely shifting the way that we interact with people, places, and things in the physical plane. And we're doing the work. And so that's what I'm seeing here. I just feel like this message came through just to encourage those of you who are going through these cycles and having these endings happen in your life, and you're maybe feeling a little discouraged or not seeing your way ahead, or wondering where things might go now that you have released a lot of these karmic partnerships. Let me just pull one card before we close out. It's just showing that we are moving in a very good direction because we're starting to see the bigger picture and seeing that it's not just about us. It's bigger than that. So the card that came out, this is the perfect way to end it. It says, know your worth. Know your worth. So know your own value. Know your worth as a divine feminine. And you knowing your own worth will allow you to attract people to you who value your worth and who do not try to diminish your value or cause, or put this energy out there where they want to diminish your light. They want you to dumb yourself down, or, don't shine it so bright. No, know your worth. You are, and you always present that. You always authentically and transparently let the world know, whoever know, that you know your own self-value, and so you're not going to diminish your value for the sake of having someone by your side, because it's only going to bring more lessons that I feel like the divine feminine has already spent enough time going through. And so it's like, nope, I'm not jumping back on a karmic wheel for the sake of temptation, for the sake of temporary pleasure that's going to ultimately turn into control, manipulation, a narcissistic, gaslighting relationships, misuse, abuse, disloyalty, and all of these things that will just cause you to descend back down. And so know your worth. I love you all. If you want a private reading from me, email me, and I will talk to you all next time.